Brush bath is like a little shampoo and conditioning treatment for your brushes. And you can give them extra TLC with the little silicone scrubber. Also turns into a little spa bath for your brushes. They're very happy. Let's talk a little bit about brush health and keeping our brushes in tip-top condition for as long as possible. I'm going to be using my Murmalicious brushes as an example. So this one I've been using for watercolor, and to keep this in good condition, really all it needs is a little bit of a rinse in clean water from time to time. Dry it off with a paper towel. It's not good to leave brushes sitting in water for a long period of time, and there's two main reasons for that. One is they're sitting up on their bristles, and you can actually end up bending them and end up with a bent bristle. Also, sitting in there, actually the water can rot the glues that are used to keep the bristles inside the ferrule here, and you just end up shortening the life of your brushes drastically. So don't leave them in water for too long. It's just not good for them. And for watercolor, just rinsing it out every so often. Drying it off with a paper towel or a little bit of a cotton towel or something, just reshaping it, leaving it to dry flat is the best way to look after brushes you're using for watercolor. For brushes that you're using with pastel, just about all you need to do is dust the existing pastel off. You don't really need to wash them that often. And just by taking the silicone scrubber that comes with the brush buff set, that will just knock off enough of the pastel for you to keep continuing. I actually have this in my hand or nearby when I'm creating with pastel sometimes, so that I can just have this in between color changes if I'm moving from one major color to another, or if I'm brushing off. I often use this beautiful soft paddle brush for brushing off excess pastel. It's a great thing as well because I can just make sure that it's nice and clean. If you're going to be using the brushes with acrylics, so that can be any of this paints, my Matchmaker paints, using them with gessos, all of these acrylic products are a lot tougher on the bristles. Using these with pastels and watercolor, the brushes will last forever and ever and ever, but this will wear them out. There's just more grit, there's just more substance to acrylics, and that does shorten the life. I mean, I'm not talking, it's going to conk out immediately, but there are certainly things you can do to look after your brushes. So of course we don't want to leave them in water, especially mucky, painty water. And for exactly the same reasons as I've already mentioned, it can bend the bristles and also will end up rotting the inside of the brush. So what we want to do is try and get off after you finish. So after you finish painting, really give your brushes a good old wash inside their painty water. Really agitate, get it in there, really agitate the water, and you're just trying to knock off as much of the existing paint as you can. That's step one. I like to then wipe off the excess and then move to some cleaner water. Give it another nice agitation. Brush off the excess, again with my paper towel. You could also use a tea towel or some cloth just to get it mainly dry. Sometimes that can be enough. Every so often though, you want to get in there and give a good deep clean. So that's where the brush buff comes in. Just looks like a shampoo and conditioner for your brushes. So I'm just going to pop that out. We've already got one of the little sponges here, so I'm not going to pop that out of the packet. Just a little bit on my brush like so. And I'm going to massage this. I can either use the palm of my hand. You can also use the little silicone scrubber as a brush spa. So I'm just going to get a little bit more water as well. And I'm going to use this to massage that brush buff in. Now, if your paintbrush is really suffering, this is a good little spa treatment for it, just to knock out just anything that's in there, any acrylics and excess pigment and whatever else you might have in there. So you can see, even though I rubbed this off and it looked pretty clean, it's not. It's, you know, plenty of whatnot is coming out. And the more I work that brush buff in and let it work its magic, let it help loosen and dissolve out that acrylic in there, it's going to really help it. You could also use this side as well. I tend to use this one. There we go. And then we need to rinse this out. Now, I would usually do this under a tap. I don't mind putting the soap into the system. This is a very, very small amount that we've added in there, but I don't like pouring acrylic paint, even acrylic painty water down into my sinks, because that can get on the pipes and clog them up like arteries, and we don't want that. So I'm giving her a really, really good stir. And because I'm down in the studio, and I'm just going to pour some fresh water on there in this instance, and then dry that off. Because this is quite a full, beautiful, generous brush, just dry that off, dry her, get her all beautiful again. Just put her down to dry. Another way to keep your pastel brushes clean in between uses is to add a little bit of sponge to the spa part of the silicone scrubber. And this is just another way of cleaning the brush off. It's like an extra little step. And all I did was pull apart a little kitchen sponge, and I pulled off this isn't steel wool, it's still soft and foamy, it's just a cheap little sponge, and I peeled that off from this part. I laid it down on my surface, and I actually used one of my drama sticks, because they draw on just about anything, even sponge, and I just traced around it and then popped it inside my little brush spa.
I hope you found some of the tips in this video helpful. And if you'd like to find out where you can get any of my collection or any of my social media links,